Hey everybody, did you know you can go to colinmullen.com in order to get art and art prints? That's why I set up the website, colinmullen.com. So hey everybody, I tried like 3 different paintings this week, and this is the one that actually I finished and liked, so that's the one that you get to watch. It's of a skull. Who would have guessed? Me painting skulls. We're using the Carvendanche, or listen, I'm dyslexic and Texan and not French. I barely understand English is what I'm trying to, really get out there at this point. And yeah. So anyway, I'm using some gouache paint, and it's from the pan set rather than the tubes. And so this is the well, it's the same set as the last time. Carandache? Anyway, starting off by trying to attempt to do a new idea where I do wet on wet with the black, and it sort of kind of worked, but I had to redo everything, so I guess that means it didn't work. But the idea being that, like, you use navy and you use brown, and that makes black. And it makes a very good black because it's it's got 2 different colors that are canceling each other out. They're on opposite sides of the color wheel, sort of like you're going with a brown that's going to be, making the blue appear more gray. You've got both very dark colors, so it just kind of ends up being a very dark grayish color, which just, that's black. So I end up using all the paint from that set, I think, except for the white is one random color that I had to go outside of my kit for because, again, just the art stores around here did not have the paint I needed. So I had to come up with another solution. I ended up using some Warhammer miniature paint that I had left over. It's whatever my local game store's brand was. It is a pretty decent Warhammer paint and a incredible paint and journal for just the white here. You'll see it here in a minute where it just goes on and is opaque over things, which is wild for white paint. Whiteout is just acrylic white paint, but it's rare for me to find a white that's this opaque and not sheer. I usually find that white ends up being one of the more sheer colors along with yellow. But anyway, so sculpted out the journal shape of the skull by using the background, then put in the journal colors that were going to be there. It kind of has this green, yellow, blue thing going on at the top, and then it slowly fades down to a black brown at the bottom. So if those are going to, generally speaking, be the colors, let's just put those exact colors down, and then we can fix it. But whatever shows through of my more detailed work will, inevitably lead to showing through to some of the base layer, and that'll be the right color. So now that we've got the base layer down, we're just kind of using the white since it is going to pop so much, and because it does, normally people like to outline stuff with black, but that's not really how outlines in real life work. Usually outlines in real life, when you're, painting on a more realistic kind of style, is you'll get shadows and highlights that'll show the edges of things. So right there, you've got a little bit of bounce lighting off the bottom of the skull. The surface that the skull is on is getting a slight amount of light coming up from below, because the table itself is not actually reflective, but mildly reflective enough that it would bounce the color. Everything's like this from there's very few things that are actually so incredibly light deadening that there is no bounce reflection of whatever color is being shown on them. So I decided to just do away with not using black. I think I end up using kind of a dark blue over this to kind of try and mix it in, so that way it looks more like the background color. But the more I get into the details and more I get into the work of this, I start to notice that the background is really just, it's not doing it for me, man. It's too sheer. And so here in a minute, I have to redo the backgrounds like I was talking about. This is actually a surprisingly good painting after all the failures of this week. The second painting I attempted to do was a little bit more abstract, but I got down the background colors, and I was like, well, that's bad. Let's just not do that. And so I just put it to the side, and then I started this one, and it just went a lot better. Just better in general. I'm gonna have to buy some more of this white paint because this is like such a good color. Like, absolutely blown away by how like effective it is. I think I should just buy like maybe like a huge tube of maybe just like acrylic, maybe like not necessarily golden, but something a little bit like nicer, because white just goes so fast. Putting some yellow down here as well, of which most of which ends up being covered by just like this being so dark anyway. But I wanted it to pop a little bit more so we could get some definition on the lower jaw. With the way things were going with the current or the initial palette, I was like, we are not going to be able to see the bottom jaw like at all. So I was like, okay, let's bring it forward a little bit. And then a little bit later, you'll notice that I realized that I brought it forward too much with that yellow. Here we go. Now I'm like trying to fix the edges of the skull. And I've realized that there's a lot of problems with just the consistency of the background color. So going back through, adding a bit more of that everywhere, adding some little dimples of darkness, which is what a goth person would refer to their child's dimples as. And the yellow definitely goes, holy crap. Yeah, that was very much of an experiment because, again, the balanced lighting. I'm like, there's an argument to be made that I could definitely have gone this direction and tried to mix those colors to make that work. I would have made the bottom jaw really pop, but I was kind of happy with it not. So I kind of backed it down with the brown again, just that way it would kind of match more in line with the original vision while still being brighter than it was there for a bit, because it was nearly indistinguishable from the background, where I want it to be like 2 steps beyond that. Like, you can tell where the jaw is, you can tell where the background is, but there's not a huge difference. So I think I back it down just a little bit more after this, but it's always okay to like kind of play around with what you've got, experiment a little bit, all that kind of thing. I know there's a lot of stuff that happened in the news this week, and just looking for an art topic this week, and I was just like, look, I think people just need some time away from the news, so that's what we're doing right now. Just as an aside, and why it's another one of these, even though I know that they are not everyone's favorite. Talking about the process as the process is coming out, I think is a very interesting way of making sure that I share all of my thoughts on how the painting went and all the little trials and tribulations that I had along the way. It ends up looking kind of chrome here, and so I kind of back it down a bit, and I'm kind of sad that I did, because I really jive with this chrome thing that was going on for a minute, but eventually we back it down quite a bit. But I mean, even still, like, especially in comparison to how all the other paintings this week went, I'm just in love with this painting. I think it turned out great. In real life, it's so much darker though. I was able to make it pop a bit more on film, but yeah. Went a little too dark with that. As you can see, there's supposed to be a little bit of a shadow there. The light's coming from the upper right, but like with the way that the skull was slightly tilted, it ended up, getting a little bit of a different coloration. But anyway, I need to thank the people on patreon.com/RevScarecrow. If you want, you can donate $5 or more, and your name will get into the credits. And that's what these wonderful people did, starting with my mom and dad. I love you. Thank you, Wafu. Thank you, Toe Foundor. Thank you, Split. Thank you, Spaghetto. Thank you, Sophia Nope. Thank you, Skelecorgi. Thank you, Sheep. Thank you, Seraph. Thank you, Reverend Joe. Thank you, Pig Wrestler. Thank you, Mortis. Thank you, Michael Carr. Thank you, Micah. Thank you, Mario Pereira. Thank you, Luna Ray. Thank you, Katie Valent. Thank you, Josepher. Thank you, Gabriel Bennett. Thank you, Freak Wannabe. Thank you, Egg. Thank you, Count Cannoli. Thank you, Chiptune Glitch. Thank you, Amber. Thank you, Alyssa. Thank you, Aguag. And thank you, Ants. Right at the end here, I start painting in the tabletop a bit, and that kind of just gives it a place where this stuff is happening. It's really kind of interesting, like how much it like adds to the depth by just having like a handful of lines showing where that is. Going a little bit darker with the black one more time as we finish out the painting, and then just kind of wait for everything to dry and sign it off. And that's me signing off too. I hope you enjoyed this. If there's anything you'd like for me to talk about in the future, let me know. But either way, I hope you have a great week, and I hope that you keep doing your art despite how the world is, because, you know, it's like marigolds, you know? You need a little bit of that to protect the food and the necessary. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.